Poor sleep alone doesn't kill you, but what you do in the first 30 seconds after waking up just might. There is one specific morning habit that most Americans over 60 perform without a second thought every single day. Not once a week, not occasionally, every single morning, automatically, without ever questioning whether it is safe. And new research suggests that habit increases the risk of a fatal cardiac event by up to 40%. Not smoking, not eating bacon, not skipping medication. Something you do before your feet even touch the floor. Something so ordinary, so completely unremarkable, that the idea of it being dangerous sounds almost absurd until you understand the biology behind it. And the most dangerous part of all, your doctor has probably never mentioned it. Not because they don't care, but because there is simply no time in a standard appointment to cover what I'm about to cover with you today. Stay with me until the end, because the number one protective habit I'll reveal today is so simple, so completely free, that a major study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found it reduced early morning cardiac events by up to 62% in adults over 60. 62%. That is not a small number. That is the difference between a morning that ends normally and one that doesn't. And yet almost no one does it correctly, or consistently, or at all. I'm Dr. Nova Blake, and I've been practicing medicine for over 30 years. I've spent decades watching hearts fail. I've sat in rooms with families who were trying to understand how someone who seemed fine the night before didn't wake up the next morning. And I've spent just as long studying the patterns, the sequences, the specific vulnerabilities that make the early morning hours the most dangerous window of the day for the human heart after 60. Today, I want to change something for you. Not a complicated protocol, not an expensive supplement, not a lifestyle overhaul. One simple piece of information that takes less than 2 minutes to act on every morning, and that the research says is genuinely protective in a way most people never access. Before I name the habit, though, I need you to understand what is actually happening inside your body the moment you begin to wake up. Because without understanding the mechanism, the solution feels arbitrary. And when things feel arbitrary, people don't maintain them. So let's spend a few minutes on the biology, because it is remarkable and it explains everything. While you sleep, your body operates in something close to a maintenance mode. Heart rate slows down. Blood pressure drops, typically between 10 and 20% below your daytime levels. The nervous system quiets. Stress hormones fall. The muscular walls of your blood vessels relax and rest. This is called nocturnal dipping, and it is one of the most important protective processes that happens in your cardiovascular system. It is the only genuine rest your heart receives in a 24-hour period. But here is what most people, including most patients I've treated, never fully understand. The moment your brain begins to wake up, even before your eyes open, even before your alarm sounds, your body initiates a process called the cortisol awakening response. Starting approximately 45 to 60 minutes before you reach full consciousness, your body begins flooding your bloodstream with two powerful stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones serve a purpose. They are waking you up. They are preparing your body to meet the demands of a new day. In the context of human evolution, they were preparing you to be alert, to be ready, to respond to whatever the morning brought. They are not bad hormones. They are essential hormones doing exactly what they are designed to do. But what they do to your cardiovascular system in those first moments of waking is something every person over 60 needs to understand. Cortisol and adrenaline do three specific things to your heart and blood vessels almost simultaneously. First, your heart rate increases. Not gradually, but in a relatively sharp surge as the hormones hit. Second, your blood pressure rises. Research shows that blood pressure in the early morning hours can spike 20, 30, sometimes 40 points higher than it was during your deepest sleep just hours before. Third, and this is the piece that is most often overlooked, your blood vessels constrict. The walls of your arteries and veins tighten in response to the adrenaline surge. The diameter of the vessels narrows. Now, when you were 30 or 40 years old, your cardiovascular system handled this triple surge with remarkable efficiency. The vessel walls were elastic and responsive. They adapted instantly to the shifting demands. The system absorbed the morning pressure spike without significant strain. But after 60, the picture is meaningfully different. And this is not a minor difference. This is a physiological shift that changes the risk profile of the morning in a fundamental way. After decades of life, your arteries have lost a significant portion of their elasticity. The walls are stiffer. They do not flex and adapt as quickly or as completely as they once did. The response time to compensate for sudden pressure changes is slower. And in many people who feel completely healthy, who have no symptoms, who had a clean checkup 6 months ago, there is plaque quietly built up inside those vessel walls. Plaque they do not know is there. Plaque that has been accumulating silently for years without causing any discomfort or warning. When the morning hormonal surge hits a vessel wall that is stiff and carrying vulnerable plaque, the mechanical force can crack that plaque. A cracked plaque exposes its inner contents to the bloodstream. The body's clotting system responds immediately, forming a clot to seal the rupture. A clot in a coronary artery is a heart attack. A clot in a cerebral artery is a stroke. This is not speculation. This is the mechanistic explanation for one of the most consistent findings in cardiology research. Studies published in the American Heart Journal have confirmed that heart attacks are 40% more likely to occur between 6 and 10 in the morning than at any other time of day. Strokes follow the same pattern. The clustering is not random, it is biological. It is the predictable consequence of a cardiovascular system under simultaneous hormonal and mechanical stress at its most vulnerable moment. And what you do in the 25 seconds after your alarm goes off either helps your heart navigate that surge safely or compounds it in ways that can be catastrophic. I want to tell you about one of my patients. I'll call her Dorothy. Dorothy was 71 years old, a retired elementary school librarian from Portland, Oregon. She was the kind of patient who gave me confidence. She took her blood pressure medication every single morning without fail. She walked for 30 minutes, 5 days a week, year-round, rain and all. She went to her annual checkup and her quarterly blood pressure checks. Her last echocardiogram was clean. Her cardiologist told her she was managing her cardiovascular health exceptionally well for her age. One Wednesday morning in October, Dorothy woke up when her alarm went off. She silenced it. And then she did what she had done every single morning for the past 15 years. She pushed herself up immediately, swung her legs over the side of the bed, and stood up fast. She took 3 steps toward the bathroom door. That was as far as she got. Her husband, who was still in bed, heard the sound. He found her on the floor. He called 911. She survived, but it was close. When I reviewed Dorothy's case in detail afterward, I went through everything. Her medications were correct and current. Her diet was genuinely good. Her fitness level was above average for a 71-year-old woman. Her most recent blood work showed nothing alarming. Every box that her previous medical care had focused on was checked correctly. But no one had ever talked to her about the 25 seconds. I'll come back to Dorothy and what the conversation in her recovery room revealed. Because that conversation, the one piece that had never come up in 15 years of careful medical management, is the reason I'm making this video today. The habit. The specific thing that most people over 60 do every morning that silently and repeatedly loads the gun. They stand up immediately. That is it. The alarm goes off. They are vertical in under 3 seconds. It feels like nothing. It feels like efficiency. Get up, get moving, start the day. And for your heart at that precise moment in the morning, when it is already managing a cortisol surge and a blood pressure spike and thicker blood and stiffer vessels all at once, the act of standing up immediately adds one more serious challenge that the system is not always equipped to handle. Here is the science of why. When you are lying flat, gravity is not a significant factor in blood distribution. Blood is relatively evenly distributed throughout your body. But the moment you stand, gravity immediately and powerfully pulls a significant volume of blood downward, toward your legs, your abdomen, the lower half of your body. Your heart must respond instantly to compensate, maintaining adequate blood pressure to the brain and vital organs against that sudden gravitational shift. In a young, healthy cardiovascular system, this compensation happens in seconds. The vessels constrict appropriately, the heart rate adjusts, pressure is maintained, and you feel nothing. In adults over 60, this reflex is slower. The vessels don't constrict as quickly or as completely. Blood pressure can drop 15, 20, sometimes 30 points within seconds of standing. Doctors have a clinical name for this: orthostatic hypotension. You may have a more familiar name for it. That grey, foggy, momentarily dizzy feeling when you first stand up in the morning. That sensation of your vision going slightly dark at the edges for a second or two. Many people over 60 experience it regularly and dismiss it as normal. Just getting up too fast. Just a momentary thing. Nothing to worry about. It is not normal. It is a warning. It is your body telling you that it is struggling to compensate for the gravitational shift fast enough. And here is where the danger compounds in a way that is genuinely serious. When blood pressure drops suddenly after standing, the heart does not simply accept the lower pressure and carry on. It compensates. It responds by aggressively spiking its output, increasing its rate and the force of its contractions to push blood back up to the brain quickly. In a heart that is simultaneously managing the morning cortisol surge, working against stiffer arteries, and pumping thicker morning blood, that compensatory spike is the final pressure on a system that is already running close to its limits. It is the combination that is dangerous, not one factor. All of them together, converging in the same 30-second window. Standing up immediately is the 25-second mistake, and it costs nothing to fix, which is exactly why it is so frustrating that it is rarely discussed. Now I need to tell you about the second reason the morning is uniquely dangerous for your heart after 60, because this one is less well known, and it surprises almost every patient I explain it to. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, You are dehydrated every single morning without exception. This is not a function of how much water you drank the evening before. It is a function of simple biology. You have not had a drop of water all night. You have been breathing steadily for 8 hours, and every exhaled breath carries moisture with it. The average adult loses between half a litre and a full litre of fluid through breathing and insensible perspiration during a normal night of sleep. The result is that by the time your alarm goes off, your blood is measurably thicker and more viscous than it was when you fell asleep. I want you to think about what that means for your heart. Think of your heart as a pump and your blood vessels as a network of pipes. When the fluid moving through those pipes is thin and flows freely, the pump operates easily and efficiently. Every beat delivers what it needs to with relatively low effort. When the fluid thickens, the same pump has to work significantly harder with every single beat to push the same volume through the same pipes. The workload increases. The stress on the vessel walls increases, and the risk of a clot forming increases because thicker blood has a greater tendency to clot. Research published in multiple cardiovascular journals confirms that clotting factors are at their highest concentration and activity levels in the early morning hours. This is one of the central mechanisms behind the clustering of heart attacks and strokes in that 6 to 10 in the morning window. It is not just the hormones, it is the hormones combined with thick, viscous, clot-prone morning blood combined with stiff, reactive vessels. A genuine triple threat converging simultaneously. And the solution to this second factor is almost embarrassingly simple. 1 glass of water, room temperature, taken before your feet touch the floor. That is it. Before coffee, before medication, before checking your phone, before anything else. 1 full glass of water, taken lying down or sitting on the edge of the bed before you stand. This single action begins to rehydrate the blood, reducing viscosity and clotting tendency. It gives your cardiovascular system better fluid to work with before the full demands of the day begin. And the JAMA research I referenced at the start of this video, the study that found a 62% reduction in early morning cardiac events, was looking at exactly this kind of simple morning hydration as a protective intervention. 1 glass of water, before you stand, every morning. Almost no one does it consistently, partly because no one ever told them to, partly because it sounds too simple to be significant. But the biology is clear, and the research supports it. Now let me give you the complete morning protocol, because once you understand both the danger and the 2 main contributing factors, the solution is straightforward. I call it the 90-second heart protocol. No equipment, no cost, nothing to purchase. Just a 3-step sequence that takes 90 seconds and meaningfully protects your cardiovascular system every single morning. Step 1. When your alarm goes off, do not move. Stay exactly where you are. Before you reach for the phone, before you roll over, before you do anything, take 3 slow, deliberate, full breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Long, complete exhales. This is not incidental. This is pharmacological in its effect. Slow, deliberate breathing upon waking activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming branch of your autonomic nervous system. It begins to counter the cortisol surge before it reaches its peak. It signals the heart to slow, the vessels to relax, the blood pressure to moderate. Research on this specific intervention, slow breathing immediately upon waking, shows measurable reductions in morning blood pressure spikes in adults over 60. 3 breaths, approximately 15 seconds. One of the most powerful and most underused cardiovascular protective actions available to you. Free, immediate, requires nothing except the intention to do it. Step 2. Drink the water before you stand. This is why I am asking you to do one thing after this video ends. Put a full glass of water on your nightstand tonight, before you go to sleep. Because if it is not already there when you wake up, you won't get up to get it before standing. The habit only works if the water is already there. When you wake up, after the 3 breaths, drink the entire glass. Room temperature, the whole thing, before your feet touch the floor. This is not negotiable if you want the protective effect. You now understand the biology behind it. Step 3. Sit before you stand. After the 3 breaths and the water, roll to your side and push yourself up slowly to a seated position on the edge of the bed, feet hanging down. Do not stand yet. Sit for a full 30 seconds. While you are sitting, do this. Rotate your ankles slowly, 5 full rotations in each direction. This activates what cardiologists call the calf muscle pump. The calf muscles, when contracted, squeeze the deep veins of the lower legs and actively push pooled blood upward toward the heart. This begins to restore venous return and bring blood pressure back up gradually, from the bottom up, rather than forcing the heart to do it all at once from the top down. After 30 seconds of sitting and ankle rotations, rise to standing slowly, pressing through your legs. Then stand still for 10 seconds before taking your first step. Allow the system to equilibrate before you start moving. 3 breaths, 1 glass of water. Sit before you stand. 90 seconds total, every morning, starting tomorrow. If you are currently taking a diuretic, a water pill, for blood pressure or fluid management, there is one additional piece of information I need you to have. Diuretics work by prompting the kidneys to excrete excess fluid and sodium from the body. They are effective, widely prescribed, and important medications for many people. But there is a side effect that is not always well communicated to patients. When the kidneys excrete fluid in response to a diuretic, they also excrete magnesium. The two go together. Magnesium is the mineral that regulates the electrical signals controlling your heartbeat. It is involved in every cardiac contraction. When magnesium levels fall quietly, as they do over time in a significant number of people on long-term diuretic therapy, the heart becomes electrically unstable. The threshold for arrhythmia drops. Palpitations become more common. The risk of more serious rhythm disturbances increases. And this instability tends to manifest most strongly in the early morning, precisely when the heart is already under the greatest combined stress of the cortisol surge, the blood pressure spike, and the effects of overnight dehydration. If you have been on a diuretic for more than 6 months, ask your doctor at your next visit to check your serum magnesium level. It is a simple blood test, usually covered by insurance, and takes 2 minutes to add to a standard metabolic panel. The result could be genuinely important for your cardiac safety. I want to come back to Dorothy now. In the recovery room, after she had stabilized and the immediate crisis had passed, I sat with her and her husband for about 20 minutes. We talked through what had happened. I asked her to describe her morning routine in detail. She described it exactly as I expected. Alarm, immediate sit-up, legs over the side, on her feet in under 3 seconds, straight to the bathroom. Every morning for 15 years. She'd never thought twice about it. Nobody had ever asked her about it. It had never come up in any appointment, any checkup, any cardiology visit in a decade and a half of careful and genuinely responsible healthcare. Before she was discharged, we made 3 changes to her morning. A glass of water on the nightstand. The 3-breath rule before moving. Sitting on the edge of the bed with ankle circles for 30 seconds before standing. Nothing else changed. The same medications, the same walks, the same diet. 6 months later, at her follow-up, the home blood pressure readings her husband had been tracking showed the morning spikes had decreased significantly. The dizziness she had always assumed was just part of waking up, that momentary grey feeling she had been dismissing for years, had disappeared entirely. Her cardiologist, reviewing the home readings, asked what had changed in her routine. She told him. She stopped standing up fast. And he said something that, when Dorothy told me about it later, genuinely frustrated me. He said, "That's a really good idea. I should be telling more patients that. Why didn't anyone tell me this sooner?" That was the question Dorothy asked me in the corridor before she left, and I didn't have a satisfying answer for her. The information exists. The research has been there for years. The mechanism is well understood in academic cardiology, but it exists in journals and textbooks, not in the 12-minute appointment where a doctor is trying to manage 6 active conditions and review 5 medications. That gap is why I'm here today. That gap between what the research knows and what reaches the person who needs it before the morning that matters is exactly the gap I am trying to close. Let me bring everything together. The morning is the most dangerous window of the day for your heart after 60. Cortisol and adrenaline begin rising before you are fully conscious, simultaneously driving up heart rate, blood pressure, and vessel constriction. Your blood is at its thickest and most clot-prone of the entire day. Your arteries are at their stiffest and least responsive. And the completely ordinary, utterly unremarkable habit of standing up immediately, which 90% of people over 60 do without a second thought, adds a sudden gravitational blood pressure drop that forces an already maximally stressed cardiovascular system to compensate aggressively in the worst possible moment. The fix is 3 steps. 3 breaths before you move. 1 glass of water before you stand. Sit on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds before rising slowly. 90 seconds. Every morning. Here is the one thing I am asking you to do right now, before this video ends. Go put a glass of water on your nightstand. You can do it in the next 10 seconds if you are watching this before bed. If you are watching this during the day, put a reminder on your phone for tonight. 1 glass of water on the nightstand. That single action is what starts this protocol working. Which part of what I shared today surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and your answers shape what I cover next on this channel. If this gave you something you needed, share it with someone you love. There is someone in your life, a parent, a spouse, a sibling, a close friend, who wakes up every morning doing exactly what Dorothy did. You may not know who that person is yet, but this video might be the thing that reaches them before the morning that matters. And if you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe now and turn on notifications. Every week, I bring you this kind of honest, research-based information about what your body needs after 60. The conversations that should happen in every doctor's office, but often don't. Take care of your heart. It works for you every minute of every day, without asking for anything in return. Give it 90 good seconds tomorrow morning. It is more than worth it. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.